好的，我来读一下英文的菩萨戒。好，已经开始录屏了。The 10 major precepts. The Buddha said to his disciples, there are 10 major bodhisattva precepts. If one receives the precepts but fails to recite them, he is not a bodhisattva, nor is he a seed of Buddhahood. I, too, recite these precepts. All bodhisattvas have studied them in the past, will study in the future, and are studying them now. I have explained the main characteristics of the bodhisattva precepts. You should study and observe them with all your heart. The Buddha continued. First major precept on killing. A disciple of the Buddha should not himself kill, encourage others to kill, killed by expedient means, prize killing, rejoice at witnessing killing, or kill through incantation or divine measures. He must not create the causes, conditions, methods, or karma of killing, or should not intentionally kill any living creature. As a Buddha's disciple, he ought to nurture a mind of compassion and filial piety, always devising expedient means to rescue and protect all beings. If instead he fails to restrain himself and kills sentient beings without mercy, he commits a parajika offense. Second major precept on stealing. A disciple of the Buddha must not himself steal, or encourage others to steal. Steal by expedient means, steal by means of incantation or divine measures. He should not create the causes, conditions, methods, or karma of stealing. No valuables or possessions, even those belonging to ghosts and spirits or thieves and robbers, be they as small as a needle or blade of grass, may be stolen. As a Buddha's disciple, he ought to have a mind of mercy, compassion, and filial piety, always helping people earn the merits and achieve happiness. If instead he steals the possessions of others, he commits a parajika offense. Third major precept on sexual misconduct. A disciple of the Buddha must not engage in licentious acts or encourage others to do so. As a monk, he should not have sexual relationships with any female, be she a human, animal, deity, or spirit, nor create the causes, conditions, methods, or karma of such misconduct. Indeed, he must not engage in improper sexual conduct with anyone. A Buddha's disciple ought to have a mind of filial piety, rescuing all the sentient beings and instructing them in the Dharma of purity and chastity. If instead he lacks compassion and encourage others to engage in sexual relationships promiscuously, including with animals and even their mothers, daughters, sisters, or other close relatives, he commits a parajika offense. Fourth major precept on lying and false speech. A disciple of the Buddha must not himself use false words and speech, or encourage others to lie or lie by expedient means. He should not involve himself in the causes, conditions, methods, or karma of lying, saying that he has been he has seen what he has not seen, or vice versa, or lying implicitly through physical or mental means. As a Buddha's disciple, he ought to maintain right speech and right views always, and lead all others to maintain them as well. If instead he causes wrong speech, wrong views, or evil karma in others, he commits a parajika offense. Fifth major precept on stealing: alcoholic beverages. A disciple of the Buddha must not trade in alcoholic beverages or encourage others to do so. He should not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of selling any intoxicant whatsoever, for intoxicants are the causes and conditions of all kinds of offenses. As a Buddha's disciple, he ought to help all sentient beings achieve clear wisdom. If instead he causes them to have upside-down, topsy-turvy thinking, he commits a parajika offense. Sixth major precept on boycotting the forces of the assembly. A disciple of the Buddha must not himself boycott the misdeed or infraction of bodhisattva cleric or bodhisattva laypersons. Or of ordinary monks and nuns, nor encourage others to do so. He must not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of discussing the offenses of the assembly. As a Buddha's disciple, whenever he hears even evil persons, eccentricists, or fellows of the truth vehicle speak of practices contrary to the Dharma or contrary to the precepts within the Buddhist community, he should instruct them with a compassionate mind and lead them to develop wholesome faith in the Mahayana. If instead he discusses the forces and misdeeds that occurred within the assembly, he commits a parajika offense. Seventh major precept on praising oneself and disparaging others. A disciple of the Buddha should not praise himself or speak ill of others or encourage others to do so. He must not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of praising himself and disparaging others. As a disciple of the Buddha, he should be willing to stand in for all sentient beings and endured humiliation and slander, accepting blame and letting sentient beings have all the glory. If instead he displaces his old virtues and conceal the good points of others, thus causing them to suffer slander, he commits a parajika offense. Eighth major precept on stinginess and abuse. A disciple of the Buddha must not be stingy or encourage others to be stingy. He should not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of stinginess. As a bodhisattva, whenever a destitute person comes for help, he should give that person what he needs. If instead, out of anger and resentment, he denies all assistance, refusing to help with even a penny, a needle, a blade of grass, even a single sentence or verse or a phrase of Dharma, but instead scolds and abuses that person, he commits a parajika offense. Ninth major precept on anger and resentment. A disciple of the Buddha should not harbor anger or encourage others to be angry. He should not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of anger. As a disciple of the Buddha, he ought to be compassionate and filial, helping all the sentient beings develop the good roots of non-contention. If instead he insults and abuses sentient beings, or even transformation beings, such as deities and spirits, with harsh words, hitting them with his fist or feet, or attracting them with a knife or club, or humbled grudge even when the victim confesses his mistakes and humbly seeks forgiveness in a soft, conciliatory voice. The disciple commits a particular offense. 10th major precept on slandering the temple jewel. A Buddha's disciple should not himself speak ill of the temple jewel or encourage others to do so. He must not create causes, conditions, methods, or karma of slander. If a disciple hears but a single word of slander against the Buddha from existentialists or even beings, he experiences a pain similar to that of 300 speared piercing his heart. How then could he possibly slander the triple jewel himself? Hence, if a disciple lacks faith and filial piety towards the triple jewel, and even assigns even persons or those of aberrant views to slander the triple jewel, he commits a particular offense. Conclusion: the 10 major precepts. As a disciple of the Buddha, you should study these 10 particular precepts and not break any one of them in even a slightest way, much less break all of them. Anyone guilty of doing so cannot develop the body-mind in his current life and will lose whatever high position he may have attained, be it that of an emperor, well-turning king, bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, as well as whatever level of bodhisattvahood he may have reached. Whether the 10 dwellings, the 10 practices, the 10 dedication, the 10 grounds, and all the fruits of eternal Buddha nature, he will lose all of those levels of attainment and descend into the 3 evil realms, unable to hear the words parents or triple jewel for eons. Therefore, Buddha's disciples should avoid breaking any one of these major precepts. All of you bodhisattvas should study and observe the 10 precepts which have been observed, are being observed, and will be observed by all bodhisattvas. They were explained in detail in the chapter, The 8,000 Rules of Conduct.小菊师兄，你要上来读吗？
师父，我查一下音标，我把《地藏经》的音标查出来，您读，我挂号护法。
哦，好的，好的，好，您要读的时候你就打8啊。好，
收到。
好的，好的。The 48 secondary precepts. 应该有录制。Then the Buddha told the Bodhisattvas, now that I have explained the 10 major precepts, I will speak about the 48 secondary precepts. Disrespect towards teachers and friends. A disciple of the Buddha who is destined destined to become an emperor. To become an emperor, a well-turned king, a high official should first receive the Bodhisattva precepts. He will then be under the protection of old guardian deity and spirits, and the Buddhas will be pleased. Once he has received the precepts, the disciple should develop a mind of filial piety and respect. Whenever he meets an elder master, a monk, or a fellow cultivator of like views and like conduct, he should rise and greet him with respect. He must then respectfully make offerings to the guest monks in accord with the Dharma. He should be willing to pledge himself, his family, as well as his kingdom, cities, jewels, and other possessions. If instead, he should develop conceit, or arrogance, delusion, or angered, refusing to rise and greet guest monks and make offerings to them respectfully. In accordance with the Dharma, he commits a secondary offense. 2. On concealing alcoholic beverages. A disciple of the Buddha should not intentionally conceal alcohol beverages, as they are the source of countless offenses. If he but offers a glass of wine to another person, his retribution will be have no hands for 500 lifetimes. How could he then conceal liquor? How could he then conceal liquor himself? Indeed, a bodhisattva should not encourage any person or any other sentient beings to consume alcohol, much less take any alcoholic beverages himself. A disciple should not drink any alcoholic beverages whatsoever. If instead he deliberately does so or encourage others to do so, he commits a secondary offense. On eating meat, a disciple of the Buddha must not deliberately eat meat. He should not eat the flesh of any sentient beings. The meat eater forfeits. The meat eater forfeits the seed of great compassion, severs the seed of the Buddha nature, and causes animals and transcendental beings to avoid him. Those who do so are guilty of countless offenses. Therefore, bodhisattvas should not eat the flesh of any sentient beings whatsoever. If instead he deliberately eat meat, he commits a secondary offenses. On 5 pension herds. On 5 pension herb. On 5 pension herb. On 5 pension herbs. on 5 pungent herbs. A disciple of the Buddha should not eat the 5 pungent herbs. Garlic, chief, garlic chiefs, leeks, garlic chiefs, leeks, onion, and what? And asafoetida. This is so even if they are added as flavoring to other made dishes. Hence, if he deliberately does so, he commits a secondary offense. 5. On not teaching repentance. If a disciple of the Buddha should see any being violate the 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, the 10 precepts are the prohibitions, or commit any of the 7 cardinal sins, or any offense which leads to the 8 adversities, any violations of the precepts whatever. He should counsel. He should counsel the offendant to repent and reform. Hence, if a bodhisattva does not do so, and furthermore continues to live together in the assembly with the offender, share in the offerings of the laity, participate in the stand upasasa ceremony, and recite the precepts while failing to bring out that person's offense, enjoining him to commit a secondary offense. Fourth, failing to request the Dharma of make offerings. If an elder master, a Mahayana monk, or fellow cultivator of like views and practice should come from far away to the temple residence to the temple, residence, city, or village of a disciple of the Buddha. The disciple should respectfully welcome him and see him off. He should minister to his needs at all times. Through doing so, may cause as much as 3 tales of God. 3 tales of God. Moreover, the disciple of the Buddha should respectfully request the guest master to preach the Dharma 3 times a day by bowing to him without a single thought of resentment or weariness. He should be willing to sacrifice himself for the Dharma and never be lax in requesting it. Lax. If he does so in this manner, he commits a secondary offense. failing to attend Dharma lectures, a Buddha disciple who is new to the order should take copies of the appropriate sutra or precept goes to any place where such sutras, commentaries, or moral codes are being explained to listen, study, and inquire about the Dharma. He should go anywhere, be it in a house, beneath a tree, in a temple, in the forest or mountains, or everywhere. If he fails to do so, he commits a secondary offense. On turning away from the Mahayana, if a disciple of the Buddha disavows if a disciple of the Buddha disavow the internal the Mahayana Sutra and moral codes, declaring that they are not actually taught by Buddha, and instead follows and observes those of the two vehicles, and deluded externalist. He commits a second-rate offense on failure to care for the sick. If a disciple of the Buddha should see anyone who is sick, he should constantly provide for that person's needs, just as he would for a Buddha. Of the 8 fields of blessings, looking after the sick is the most important. A Buddha's disciple should take care of his father, mother, Dharma teacher, or disciple, regardless of whether he or she is disabled or suffering from various kinds of disease. If instead he becomes angry and resentful and to do so or refuse to rescue the sick or disabled in temples, cities and towers, forests and mountains, or along the road, he commits a secondary offense. On storing deadly weapons, a disciple of the Buddha should not store weapons such as knives, clubs, bows, arrows, spears, axes, or any other weapons, nor may he keep nets, traps, or any such devices used in destroying life. As a disciple of the Buddha, he must not even avenge the death of his parents, let alone killed sentient beings. He should not stone any weapons or devices that can be used to kill sentient beings. If he deliberately does so, he commits a second-rate offense. The first and second-rate precepts have been described. Disciple of the Buddha should study and respectfully observe them. They are explained in detail in the 6 chapters following these precepts. Observing as an emissary. A disciple of the Buddha should not, out of personal benefit or even intentions, act as a country's emissary to foster military confrontation. and word causing the slaughter of countless sentient beings. As a disciple of the Buddha, he should not be involved in military affairs or serve as a courier between enemies, much less act as a wearing catalyst for war. If he deliberately does so, he commits a secondary offense. On unlawful bliss undertakings, a disciple of the Buddha must not deliberately trade in slavers or sell anyone into servitude, nor should he trade in domestic animals, coffin or wood for casket. He cannot engage in these types of business himself, much less encourage others to do so. Otherwise, he commits a secondary offense of slander and libel. A disciple of the Buddha must not, without cause and with evil intentions, slander virtuous persons such as elder masters, monks or nuns, kings, princes, or other upright persons, saying that they have committed the 7 cardinal sins or broken the 10 major bodhisattva precepts. He should be compassionate and filial and treat all virtuous people as if they were his father, mother, siblings, or other close relatives. If instead he slanders and harms them, he commits a secondary offense. On starting wildfire, a disciple of the Buddha should not, out of evil intentions, start wildfires to clear forests and burn vegetation on mountains and plains during the 4th to the 9th months of the lunar year. Such fires are particularly injurious to animals during that period and may spread to people's houses, towns and villages, temples and monasteries, fields and growths, as well as the unseen dwellings and positions of the deities and ghosts. He must not intentionally set fire to any place where there is life. If he deliberately does so, he commits a secondary offense. Teaching non-Mahayana Dharma, a disciple of the Buddha must teach one and all, from fellow disciples, relatives, and spiritual friends to externalists and evil beings, how to receive and observe the Mahayana sutras and moral codes. He should teach the Mahayana principles to them and help them develop the body mind, as well as the 10 dollars, the 10 practices, and the 10 dedications, explaining the order and function of each of these 30 minds levels. If instead the disciple with evil, hateful intentions perversely teaches them the sutra and the moral code of the two vehicle tradition, as well as the commentary of deluded externalist, he thereby commits a secondary offense. Unsound explanation of the Dharma. A Bodhisattva disciple master must first, with a wholesome mind, study the rules of deportment as well as sutras and moral codes of the Mahayana tradition and understand their meanings in depth. Then, whenever novice come from afar to seek instruction, he should explain according to the Dharma all the Bodhisattva renunciate practices such as burning one's body, arm, or finger as the ultimate art in the quest for the supreme enlightenment. If a novice is not prepared to follow these practices as an offering to the Dharma, to the Buddha, he is not a bodhisattva monk. Moreover, a bodhisattva monk should be willing to sacrifice his body and limb for starting bees and hungry ghosts as the ultimate act of compassionate in rescuing sentient beings. After this explanation, the Bodhisattva Dharma master should teach the novice in an orderly way to awaken their minds. If instead, for personal gain, he refuses to teach or teaches in a confused manner, quoting passengers out of order and contact, or teaches in a manner that disparage the triple jewel. He commits a secondary offense on exacting donations. A disciple of the Buddha must not, for the sake of food, drink, money, perceptions of fame, approach and befriend kings, princes, or high officials, and on the strength of such relationships, exact money, goods, or other advantages. Nor may he encourage others to do so. These actions are called untoward, excessive, demise, and lack compassion and feel piety. Such a disciple commits a secondary offense on serving as an inadequate master. Inadequate master. On serve as an inadequate master. The disciple of the Buddha should study the 12 divisions of the Dharma and recite the Bodhisattva precepts frequently. He should strictly observe these precepts in the 6 periods of the day and night and fully understand their meaning and principles as well as the essence of their Buddha nature. If instead the disciple of the Buddha fails to understand even a sentence or a verse of the moral code, or the causes and conditions related to the precepts, but pretends to understand them, he is deceiving. He is deceiving both himself and others. A disciple who understands nothing of the Dharma, yet as a teacher transmitting the precepts, commits a secondary offense on double-tongued speech. A disciple of the Buddha must not, with malicious intent, gossip or spread rumors or slander, create discord and disdain. For the virtuous people. An example is disparaging a monk who observes the Bodhisattva precepts as he makes offerings to the Buddha by holding a license burdened to his forehead. A disciple of the Buddha who does so commits a secondary offense. Fail to liberate sentient beings. A disciple of the Buddha should have a mind of compassion and cultivate the practice of liberating sentient beings. He must reflect thus throughout the eons of time. All male sentient beings have been my father. All female sentient beings my mother. I was born of them. If I now slaughtered them, I would be slaughtering to my parents as well as eating flesh that was once my own. This is so because all elemental earth, water, fire, and air, the four constitute of life, have previously been part of my body, part of my substance. I must therefore always cultivate the practice of liberating sentient beings and enjoys others to do likewise. As sentient beings are forever bound again and again, lifetime after lifetime. If a bodhisattva sees an animal on the verge of being killed, he must devise a way to rescue and protect it, helping it to escape suffering and death. The disciple should always teach the bodhisattva precepts to rescue and deliver the sentient beings. On the day his father, mother, and siblings died, he should invite Dharma masters to explain the Bodhisattva Sutra and precepts. This will generate merits and virtues and help the deceased either to achieve rebirth in the Pure Lands and meet the Buddhas, or to rescue the rebirth in the human or celestial rings. If instead a disciple fails celestial rings, if instead a disciple fails to do so, he commits a secondary offense. You should study and respectfully observe the above 10 precepts. Each of them is explained in detail in the chapter explaining offense. 好，我读到这里啊。